Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Matt Baxendell in just a moment. A bunch of stuff to get into. We got a chance to meet with the safeties last night, and safeties coach Matt Guerrieri or Guerrieri, let me pronounce his name right, Matt Guerrieri. And you talk to Caleb Downs, he's so impressive. We know he's impressive on the field. Can't wait to see him in the Buckeye uniform. 10 days away from the opener, my friends. And then Lathan Ransom. And I was thinking, when's the last time Ohio State had a safety tandem this good? And I was thinking, have they had a safety tandem this good? They have to prove it. But just, man, this is going to be arguably the best safety combination in college football this year. And we're going to get into that and much more with Matt Baxendell. Before we do that, we'll let you guys know about our friends over at Joy Mode. I mean, I got Patrick Murphy trying to get sleep last night, and he's texting me at 2 a.m. about Joy Mode. I'm like, listen, I'm glad you like Joy Mode. A little too much information, though. But I do think I speak for most men when I say we want to have better sex. And for the sake of our partner, we may need to have better sex. The issue is that over-the-counter erection pills contain unregulated chemicals, suggest unsafe doses, and include the risk of several other health problems. That's why we partnered with our friends over at Joy Mode. Whether you're looking to spice up your intimate moments or increase your confidence in the bedroom, Joy Mode makes all natural and science-backed supplements dedicated to helping men perform better across their core functions. Go to usejoymode.com/bucknuts and get 20% off with code Bucknuts at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with code Bucknuts at usejoymode.com/bucknuts. Great sex solved naturally. There you go, my friends. There you go. I'm here to entertain. All right. We're going to have Bax here in just a moment. So Caleb Downs, first of all, let's get into just how impressive Caleb Downs is. Just talking to him. Obviously, we know he's extremely talented. This kid, there's just something special about him when you talk to him. He's mature beyond his years. He's confident, yet not cocky at all. And that's a very interesting line to walk. But you can think of people like that, athletes that come to mind, certain people that, man, they just there's no doubt they're confident, very confident in themselves, but you wouldn't know it by the way they act. And he just, he's humble yet confident, sometimes that's not those two things do not go well together. But he definitely is, and he has every reason to come here. He was SEC Freshman of the Year, led Bama in tackles with over 100. Looks like Bax is trying to join. Every school in the nation wanted him to transfer when he entered the portal. Has all kinds of good NIL deals and has every reason to come here and kind of have be cocky. And there's none of that. And then Lathan Ransom. I mean, goodness gracious, I'm surprised he's still here. I thought after he got hurt last year with that Liz Frank injury, I thought he would just get ready for the NFL. Thrilled to have him back as a fifth-year senior. If he can stay healthy, look out. That was a big blow to the defense last year. Big blow to the defense not having Lathan Ransom late in the year. He was having a good year. So, man, Matt Baxendell, welcome in. Good to see you, my friend.
Morning, everybody.
Sorry that you had to miss my entertaining ad read to begin the show.
I bet you did a fantastic job. I feel like you were very joyful.
I did. Very, very joyful. I don't need our buddy Patrick Murphy texting me at 2 a.m. about how much he loves Joy Mode. I mean, first of all, that can wait till the morning. And second of all, it's too much information. But
learn how to schedule a text, buddy.
Exactly. I know he's excited, but come on, man. We're talking with Caleb Downs and Lathan Ransom last night. We got to meet with Malik Hooker. Malik Hooker was actually not there. I just had Malik Hooker in my mind because I was going through best safeties that have played at Ohio State.
I was going to say, if we got him back, I'm really excited.
There you go. Malik Hartford. We got Malik Hooker back. Malik Hartford. So and Matt Guerrieri is impressive too. I think he's got future head coach written all over. I'm saying that a guy who's just a safeties coach right now. He'll be a D coordinator somewhere, and then he'll be a head coach. I have no doubt about that. So I'm thinking about it. We're talking with Lathan. We're talking with Caleb, and obviously they're just impressive young men. Forget about football for a second. They're just very impressive young men. And then let's think about football for a minute. I'm thinking, when's the last time Ohio State had? Now they have to prove it. When's the last time Ohio State had a safety combination this good? And I was thinking like Malik Hooker's, 2016, but Damon Webb was solid, but he was a 7th round pick, I believe. I don't know if I'd put Malik Hooker though was fantastic, 1st round pick, so that was a pretty good one. go back 20 years prior to that, 96 with Rob Kelly and Damon Moore. That was a really good one. I'm trying to think who was
Mike Doss and Donnie Nicky, baby.
Well, yeah, you got to give it to. I was going to say you got to give it to 2002. Doss, 2nd round pick, Nicky, 5th round pick, captains on the national championship team. Definitely.
Dante Whitner was another great one we had.
Whitner, who was Whitner's running mate at safety? I'm trying to remember in 05 because Whitner was really good. He was a 1st round pick. But man, I don't know, dude. I mean, like this might be, and I know they have to prove it, but Downs and Ransom might be the best safety tandem to come through here.
No, there's no question they have the potential to be that. I mean, like the truth of the matter is that, obviously we all know what Caleb Downs did at Alabama and what he looked like whenever he was coming out of high school. I mean, there's no question that, he was a significant player. And by the way, I believe it was Nate Sally, if memory serves, from 2005.
Well, that's a pretty good one then.
Nate Sally, Dante Whitner.
Was Sally still here in 05?
I think so. He graduated the same time that AJ and Bobby and all that group did.
That'd be a pretty good one. Dante Whitner, that'd be a good one right there. Whitner and Sally. Sally.
So, but the thing is that talk about the company we're throwing here right now, right? We're talking about, the Nate Sally, Dante Whitner pairing. We're talking about Donnie Nicky and Mike Doss. We're talking about, Malik Hooker. I mean, David Webb was no slouch either, but Malik Hooker, I would argue, had the best season of any safety since Jack Tatum at Ohio State that year in 2016. So, it is a certainly rare air that we're comparing them to. And Caleb Downs is a player. He was a freshman All-American. He was a 5-star consensus kind of guy, top of the lineup. Honestly, he's so good that every time I hear him talk about wanting to play running back, I'm like, no. The dumbest thing we can do is get him hurt on an end around. He's that good. And then you look at a guy like Lathan Ransom, who had an excellent year last year. I mean, I think he had 100 tackles or something like that. So, he's become quite the guy for Ohio State in his own right before you put Downs next to him. So when you compare two guys at this level, you're talking about an all-time potential pairing at this tandem. And that's something that, I think Ohio State's defense is going to hang its hat on. And, it's a defense that even once you get past these safeties, Dave, it's just so deep everywhere that, we're talking about a defense that I think if things go the way you hope is going to be talked about in the same breath as 02 and 05 and 16 and all these other great years we've had on defense because there's so much talent. And the two guys at safety are probably the headliners of the group.
Yeah, it's so impressive, and they fit well too because Lathan's that typical strong safety, and Caleb's that free safety, that center fielder that also can come up and hit you. It's not like he's a sure tackler. He's not gonna try to go out there and knock people out and do stupid things, but he's a good tackler, and boy, he can cover the field. This is going to be so exciting watching those guys do their thing. Number 2 and number 8 out there. Now depth is a little bit of an issue, but like. That's Jim Knowles saying that. I was thinking depth was actually pretty solid because if Malik Hartford is coming off the bench as a sophomore, to me, that's good business. But Knowles said that's his concern is depth at safety. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Sometimes when coaches say things in public, it's intended to be a motivational technique. Let's not forget that either. Malik Hartford was a guy that played a lot last year. I think everybody expected him to have another apprenticeship year the moment we learned that Downs was coming. But, when you hear coaches say things in public, it's very rare that you get the candidness that you get sometimes. Like last year with Ryan Day when he talked about Kyle McCord, the frustration just bubbled through. I don't necessarily get from Knowles that I think he's that frustrated or anything like that with the backups. I think he's just saying they need to be a little bit better. And also they're being compared to a pretty elite level. So, I don't want to sit here and try to do some sort of, we used to have translating trestle, knowing Knowles or whatever we're doing, decoding day, whatever fancy term we want to come up for it here. Our Kremlinology of what the coaches really mean is essentially going to it boils down to their audience that they're talking to more than anything is knowing that the guys in the room may hear what they say. And everything else kind of comes from that. We're all, eating it up left and right because we're all trying to figure out what's going on. And, we want to get the best coverage out there and the best analysis in place here at Bucknuts. But truth of the matter is, if these guys are talking, they know the players are listening. They know recruits are listening. And that's who they really are ultimately talking to when they talk to the media.
So I guess I'll leave it at this. I think if they stay healthy, I'll be surprised if we're not saying, oh yeah, this was the best safety tandem to come through Ohio State. Downs and Ransom, if they stay healthy. We'll see. It was just fun getting to talk to those guys last night. And tonight, who do we have tonight? We have Larry Johnson and the defensive lineman after practice tonight around 6:30. Then tomorrow, my friends, Ryan Day. But then we also get Justin Fry, fan favorite Justin Fry, and the offensive lineman tomorrow.
Oh boy,
practice. Oh boy. I wonder if anybody's going to ask Fry anything about recruiting.
He can't answer it anyways, though. That's the thing.
He can answer in generality, though.
Yeah, but he's not going to be like.
He's definitely going to be asked a lot of questions
Sanders
about recruiting. Like I'll be in that mix asking him about recruiting, just like
that's the thing too, Dave. That's really interesting is that I think there can be a conversation asked about look at the offensive line. Look where all the guys are from that are starting for us. You have transfer from California, right? You have transfer from Alabama. You have a guard from Texas, right? Josh Fryer is not an Ohio kid either. So, when most of our recruiting in the last couple of years is Ohio plus like maybe an Indiana kid or a Michigan kid. What does that say in terms of how we're handling our business locally in terms of recruiting? Are we going to have an Ohio kid start on the O-line this year? Or even on, that's the reality is some of our best, hopefully Tegra does. He's the highest rated guy to come out of Ohio on the offensive line in a couple of years. So it'd be nice if he got on the field. I'm rooting for him. But how many years, look at our great years whenever the team was a championship caliber team. Look at the O-line in 2014. It was almost all Ohio guys.
All Ohio guys.
Yeah. And so there's talent in this state. Ohio has some of the most NFL players every year in the league, right? So when people flip out one way or the other, well, are we getting the right Ohio guys? Are we developing the Ohio guys appropriately? Those are real conversations that have to happen right now with Justin Fry, because if you look at our team, it's a fifth-year senior and it's a couple portal guys, and that's it on the line. So we need to see more in terms of building that depth and building that growth. You and I both agree the Armstrong twins were probably underrated last year. I think we've talked about this numerous times before. I don't know how both of them weren't 4 stars. But at the end of the day, the recruiting side of it for the offensive line has been very Bowman-esque the last couple of years. And, that's something that cannot be allowed to continue. And I think that the big question isn't going to be, how is the line this year? It's going to be, how's the line in 2 years? How's the line in 3 years? Because the recruiting gap on an offensive line doesn't show up until down the line. It's not like the offensive linemen show up and play right away like tailbacks or wide receivers do. So that's the biggest concern with Fry, because I think looking at the line objectively this year, Dave, I think it's going to be a really good O-line. I think there's a lot of good things on that line. I think we're sitting there with some pretty good high-end players. Heck, if Tegra wins the job, you have 2 former 5-stars at guards. You have 2 really good older players and seniors at tackle. And you have a guy who started at Alabama at center. And you have your other center, Carson Hintzman, as a backup in many positions. So you have guys on this line that can play. But what's behind them? What's the line going to look like in 2026? That's where everybody's worried, I think, more than this year.
So if they win the national title this year, just we'll worry about that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But still,
yeah, right. First world problems.
Well, I've heard people say this too. Now with the transfer portal, just let David Sanders Jr. go to Tennessee for a year, and get him from the portal. It's like, okay, yeah. I don't know if it's going to be that simple, but seriously, I do think. They got 2 of their 5 starters are from the portal. 40% of the starting offensive line is from the portal this year. So I tend to think they're going to hit the portal pretty hard.
They will, but what if it's a year like last year, Dave, where there wasn't nobody in the portal?
That's the thing. That's the thing. That's why it's a huge risk.
Yes.
But if we're talking about next year, was David Sanders Jr. going to come in here and start as a true freshman? No, not at 260 pounds or whatever he is. I know he'd be bigger than 260 by the time he got here, but he's more like a Nick Petit-Ferrer who's going to.
Yeah, that's the comparison is right there.
Yeah, he's not going to be ready as a true freshman. So regardless, they were going to need to go. Now, I'm not giving Justin Fry a pass here. I've been very critical of his recruiting acumen. I think Jay Book nailed it. It's a numbers game. It's simple math. If your hit rate is that low, you need to cast a wider net. Okay, it's one thing to be like, have this this confidence that, listen, when I offer somebody, I intend to land them. Of course you do. Okay, that's great to say that. But man, it's not working out. How's that working out for you? Not really well. So you need to cast a wider net. So we'll see what happens. But all right, I want to get to one more question here. And then after we talk about Babel, Bax knows something about that. Then we're going to get into what we expect to happen with our friends up north. Is the other shoe about ready to drop, or is the NCAA going to push this like 2 years down the road, somewhere in between? Bax and I are going to get into that. But let's talk some special teams. Robert on Facebook, what do you guys see with special teams this year? Well, Robert, it needs to be a strength if they're going to win the national championship. They can't go out there and like hope to have a stalemate in special teams. Okay, so Jaden Fielding's going to be the kicker. We don't know who's going to be the punter yet. And I think Fielding's going to have a good year this year as a junior. We don't know who the punter is yet, but I am guessing it's going to be Anthony Veneri, the transfer from Buffalo, just because he has some experience. He was pretty good at Buffalo last couple of years. Not great, solid. Punt return is interesting to me, Bax. I got a chance to ask Ryan Day about that. He says he's not sure yet, but he mentioned Emeka Buka is going to probably be back there. Brandon Ennis. I like that Brandon Ennis is going to be one of the guys they're going to give a long look to. He mentioned J.J. Smith, mentioned Jeremiah Smith. He mentioned Jaden Ballard. As far as kickoff returns, he even mentioned like Travion Henderson back there and Emeka Buka back there returning kicks. But your thoughts on special teams, just some of the things I said there, and just, man, it has to be a strength this year. It can't just be – it certainly can't be a weakness. It can't just be average either. This is Ohio State. It needs to be a strength.
Yeah. For Ohio State, here's my thought process on it. In the kicking game has to be a strength. In the return game, just don't screw it up. Just don't screw it up. That's all return and coverage needs to be, is don't screw it up. And I've been saying this since Urban Meyer arrived at Ohio State. I don't care if our punt returner is the super squirreliest, best returner ever. We've already seen Ted Ginn. It's never going to get better than that. But the truth of the matter is your punt returner has to catch the football, right? Just ensure the change of possession with the offense that we have. We should be all right. The thing is that we can't have guys not prepared. And that was kind of the issue we ran into the last couple of years. How many times did they try to call a fake punt and they screwed it up with a motion play or whatever? Or they went and freelanced on their own and it cost them field position. That's been a problem for them the last couple of years. And so with the way that it's changed around now, where Ryan Day is taking a more personal vested interest in the special teams, I think that's going to help Ohio State. But at the end of the day, the preparation side has to be on lockdown. And I think we can all say the last 2 years, there's been multiple times where it looked like Ohio State was trying to call something that would have hit on a fake punt or on a coverage play or whatever. And it happened against Georgia. It happened against Michigan. These are things that they screwed up. They have to be ready for it. And I think it's the basic preparation that we're going to see the most improvement on this year, because I don't think we had that last year. It felt like that maybe there was a little bit of looseness to the way that they were preparing on special teams. So as long as the special teams don't kill them and we make our kicks, we'll be fine. It doesn't have to be, Ted Ginn returning eight punts for a touchdown in a year or anything crazy, because the offense and defense are going to be very, 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 very good. So don't let this hurt us. That's really the only perspective I think Ohio State needs to have on special teams.
I love this coaching staff. I mean, Parker Fleming, nice guy, but he had no business being the special teams coordinator here. And I love that, just like you articulated, what Ryan Day's doing, taking a page out of Jim Tressel's book, spreading the wealth around, having each position coach, in charge of a particular unit. Like Brian Hartline's going to be in charge of the punt return unit, for example. He's going to make that final decision, Ryan Day said, as far as who's going to be the punt returner. I'm sure Ryan Day obviously is going to have heavy input. But look at it. Now James Laurinaitis is the full-time linebacker coach. You bring in Chip Kelly as offensive coordinator. Like, are you kidding me? Last year you had like Hartline and Fry were kind of co-coordinators. So they really didn't have an offensive coordinator last year. Day was the offensive coordinator as usual. But he didn't have Kevin Wilson up there. There wasn't really an adult in the room. Now you bring in Chip Kelly, who we loved Kevin Ron Wilson. Chip Kelly is going to be an upgrade over that for sure. And I like Kevin Wilson a lot. I like Guerreri as the safeties coach. This coaching staff is completely on point. So hopefully special teams is a strength. One thing that's a strength is Babel. Babel is a strength. You want to learn a second language or a third language. You want to be like Mr. Matt Baxendell and get fluent in French. So when your kid's up there playing hockey, you can just go up there and impress all the French Canadians. Like, this American can't speak any French. And then he speaks fluent French because of Babel. 1 in 5 Americans have learned a new language on their bucket list. If that's you, make this year the year you finally check that off the list with Babel. Fast forward to the end of this year. Think of your goals. What can you do right now to give yourself the best chance of succeeding? If you want to learn a new language, you absolutely should get Babel. Here's a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/bucknuts. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/bucknuts. That's spelled BABBEL.com/bucknuts. Rules and restrictions may apply. Great deal. 60% off. You can learn a new language. And my friend and co-host here can tell you firsthand how great it is. So get with Babbel, my friends.
It's like the Just for Men for languages. Remember that back in the day, like, I'm not just a spokesman, I'm a subscriber, whatever that was. Was it the hair loss guys back in the day?
Yeah, I'm not. Yes, I think it was a hair club.
Was it Rogaine, maybe?
Hair club for men, maybe.
Hair club for men, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah,
I'll be the hair club for men guy for Babbel. I'm not just a spokesman here. I'm a subscriber. It works. If you spend the time and put into it, it absolutely works. And my kids are both learning languages in middle school now, and they're already ahead of the classes that they're in because they've been messing around in Babbel. And it's just the visual acuity that comes along with recognizing it visually and being able to speak it. It helps you with, let you talk back to you and everything, and helps you with your pronunciation. Je suis un grand fan de Babbel. So everybody should try it.
Nice work. Yeah, we still have some people chiming in about the best safety combinations. Yeah, that's one that you mentioned there, back. Couple that you mentioned. Whitner and Sally in 05. That's a good one. Dawson, Nikki, of course, we mentioned that. And then, Andrew on Facebook is saying Damon Moore and Gary Berry. That was a good one. But I would, if you're going to have a Damon Moore situation, you got to go with 96, Damon Moore and Rob Kelly. Rob Kelly was a second-round pick. Gary Berry was a dude as well. Damon Moore was a third-round pick. But Rob Kelly and Damon Moore in 96, that's got to be the discussion.
Whitner was a first and Sally was a third or a fourth, right?
Sounds right to me.
Pretty high combo there.
That 05. For some reason I thought Sally graduated in 04. I forgot that he was still here in 05.
The 05 team, Dave, I have said this 100 times. And until the 2019 team came around, 05 would have gone down for me as the greatest OSU team in my life that didn't win a title because they were so good. And the two teams they lost to finished second and third, and they finished fourth that year. So that was an unbelievable defense.
We got company. Hey, Todd is in France. Bax can speak fluently if he goes over.
Bonjour, Todd.
So there you go.
C'est un bon matin.
Mika, is Tegra a lock to start? I wouldn't say he's a lock. I think right now he's going to be the starter. We were Troy Smith days away from the opener, Rex Kern days, Denzel Burke days. Number 10 has been great to Ohio State. Been fantastic to Ohio State. I'm not even going to mention Art Schleicher. Oh, crap, I just did. But we're not going to mention that criminal. But
just got arrested again.
So is Tegra a lock? No, but I think he will start. I think he was going to start against Akron, then he needs to prove it because Carson Hinsman is not going to go away quietly. Luke Montgomery's a guy no one's talking about. Played a lot of football last year as a true freshman, at least a decent amount as a true freshman. Nobody's talking about him. He can probably be in the mix. I don't think Austin Sireville is in the mix because they're giving him reps at tackle. He was playing.
Yeah, he might be the top backup at tackle right now.
Probably is. Yeah, Zen Mahalski's in that mix. George Fitzpatrick was expected to be, but he's missed a lot of practices. But I think with Tegra stepping up, Tegra definitely the coaches are happy with where he's at, and the combination of Hinsman missing practices. I think Tegra will be the starter against Akron, and we'll see how it goes from there.
I also think Luke Montgomery's a name we can't forget because even if Luke doesn't start this year, I do think he'll certainly be a two-deeper. And in a year, Luke Montgomery, I'll be shocked if he's not starting somewhere on this line. I could easily see the middle trio on this line being Montgomery, Hinsman, and Tegra next year as well. So
everybody's got their thoughts. Yeah, 98 was one. 96, you can make an argument, was an Ohio State team. They should have won it all. They don't
05 and 19. Yeah. This is a byproduct, by the way. I think everybody who argues that the 90s teams were better than these later on teams were younger or in college in those years, and that was their first major heartbreak. So, for me, I was in college in 05. 05 was the biggest heartbreak for sure when I was a college student, because that was the team where everybody thought they were going to do it, and then we all were pleasantly surprised by 06 until the championship game, right? And the youngest kids, the Gen Z or whatever, are going to tell you it was 2019 until – they're old and those damn referees. Like, that's how it goes, right? I'm sure there's folks from the 70s that are going to tell you, that Archie Griffin's last year and UCLA in the Rose Bowl and Ohio State had the national championship in their pocket, and then they didn't win that Rose Bowl. They'll sit there and tell you that was the best team.
And they beat UCLA in the regular season that year.
Oh, I know. It's sickening. And Woody, literally, there's a story out there where Woody looked like he was going to tell the team that it was going to be his last game if they won the Natty, but didn't want to tell them, and then they didn't win. And then he hung on for a couple more years trying to chase it one more time. There's a large school of thought that Woody was ready to ride off into the sunset with Archie if they had won that game. I personally believe it. So there's a whole number of teams we could point at. My personal one is 05 and 19. The 19 passed 05, in my opinion, because I think 19 would have won the national title other than factors outside of their control. But, yeah, you can argue 96. You can argue 98. You can argue 95. They're all really good teams. When you're Ohio State, you're going to have a lot of good football teams that don't win national championships, unfortunately.
03 had everybody back from
except for Maurice. If they had Maurice in 03, they would have won.
Doss and Nicky. I mean, obviously not everybody back. It's like when people say everybody was back in 2015. I mean, there's caveats there. They didn't have Michael Bennett back. They didn't have Devin Smith back. There was some key guy. Curtis Grant was a leader on that 2014 team, but they had a lot of guys back in 2015. So yeah, we can point to a lot of those. But let's move on, because I think Mike summed it up perfectly. Mike says, hopefully this year's team won't be on that list. That's damn right. So, yeah. So let's move on. Let's talk about happier things. Let's talk about our friends up north. Bet. So what now? Let's be real, though. I mean, I think they're going to get hammered eventually. I just don't know when. People are, is it going to happen this week? It's like, probably not. I don't know. I mean, I would bet it probably won't happen this week. I would bet it's going to happen some point, but I don't know when. When would you bet it's going to happen, Bax?
Well, I think it's a fool's errand to bet whenever the FBI is involved. And the rumor is they're looking at betting. So that would be the funniest thing ever, by the way, if their whole little goofy-ass slogan was bet, and then it comes out that there's actually gambling involving in this FBI crime situation. Everybody forgets the FBI crime, by the way. Like, that's a big deal, the FBI crime thing. The truth is with Michigan right now, there are so many scandals circulating around Ann Arbor like a tornado that it's almost hard to keep track of all of them. That's the wild part about it to me, because they've already got Harbaugh with a 4-year show cause on illegal recruiting that they all want to call like some hamburger thing. The truth of the matter is they broke every rule and didn't care, right? And he wouldn't even like talk to the NCAA. All that stuff that he's already been decked with, like he's going to be like a murderer where he has like multiple life sentences tacked on top of each other by the time this is all said and done. But the truth is, we've already seen like the draft and allegations come out where Sharon Moore is deleting text messages to Connor Stallions. They have all this other evidence of it. All of that's going to happen too. And the truth of the matter is that you've seen recent NCAA rulings. They don't care if they did or didn't know. They're going to say you should have known what was going on. And all you have to do is pop up a video of a supposed recruiting analyst following around the offensive and defensive coordinators on the sideline. That'd be like the equivalent of like Elon Musk having some like intern following him around and telling him what to do all day. No, they're there for a reason. So anybody with a half of a brain knows what was going on. And that doesn't even get into the computer crime stuff that's going on here. So I honestly think it's going to happen at some point in the next couple months here where we're going to see the formal notice of allegations. But you're going to see vacated wins. You're going to see bowl bans. You're going to see, I don't know how Sharon Moore doesn't get hit with a show cause. I don't know how he keeps his job, to be quite frank. I think that Michigan's fans and their administration have sat in this echo chamber of, we'll just sue. Like they were going to just sue to keep Harbaugh on the sideline, and it didn't work, right? So the truth of the matter is, guys, like the bill's going to come due here. And now I won't be satisfied until the bill vacates the national championship last year, because their whole program was a tire fire until they started cheating. Like Harbaugh was mediocre. He was 0 it should be 6 against Ohio State, but they quit in 2020. He was about to get fired. They cut his salary in half, and then they started cheating and magically became a decent program. Come on. Everybody knows what happened here, right? It is like Orwellian to deny the evidence of your eyes of what happened here with Michigan. So they're going to get hit. And the truth of the matter is that we just have to figure out whether the crater is a little crater or a giant hole in the sides of the hill like their stadium.
Let's end it on that perfect way to end the show. Matt Baxendell, great stuff, my friend. Appreciate you getting up early and doing the show with me. Great stuff from Bax. Read his column every Sunday. It is The Bucket on bucknuts.com. It has must-read material. So thank you to Mr. Matt Baxendell. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. We appreciate it very much. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Go Bucks.